What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, well, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them? Visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies. Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS.
Established over 100 years ago, Watkins Books is one of the world's oldest and leading independent bookshops specializing in esoterica. We have the widest selection of esoteric books in the UK, and our friendly and knowledgeable staff are here to assist you in a unique ambience of our shop. So come and visit us in the heart of London as we're open every day.
The comments and views expressed on The More Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The More Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world online. You're now watching the UK's only alternative late night talk show, and I'm your host, Kevin Moore. For the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. On today's show, I'm joined with Brett Moran, who for the last 15 years has served as a therapist, life coach, and change maker. After transforming his own life from drug addiction, Brett became a volunteer for a number of charities that deal with homelessness, inmates, and drug addiction. Now recognised as a specialist in personal transformation, Brett has shared his message in films, books on self-development alongside global changemakers such as Richard Branson, Jack Canfield, and Archbishop Desmond Tutu. Brett Moran, welcome to the show.
Hello, Kevin. How you doing? Thank you.
It's fantastic to have you on. I was going through your book last night, and it really is a really fantastic book. There's some great quotes in there.
Nice one, mate. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I think quotes are really inspiring. I read a lot of books with a lot of quotes. Are you talking about the quotes from other people or the quotes from me?
They're your quotes. That's what I want to say.
Oh, brilliant.
I'm going to plagiarize the hell out of this. This is really good. I think they're not. There's no little names next to them as who didn't, but they're really. I'm just really glad you put them in the book because I think they mean a lot.
Oh, nice one.
As you're going through it. Now, what a backstory you've got, which I think, do you think your backstory's helped you a lot to get where you've got now?
Yeah, 100%. I think my backstory really, I know it's pretty spiritual and pretty woo-woo, but it happened for a reason. Everything in my mind happens for a reason. So the backstory now is it's like my CV. It's the best thing that ever happened to me, really, because I suppose, I've been there and I've done that, so I can connect with people that are going through the same situations that I'm going through, And nowadays, everybody likes a sort of a success story or a positive story. So I think that's why, the author, the publishers are interested in getting behind it and sharing the backstory just as much as the story that I've got now, the transformation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I love the title "Wake the Fuck Up." I think it's fantastic, right?
Brilliant,
I think
thank you.
it just said it just as the way it should be, right?
Yeah.
But getting to the beginning for yourself as well. I think that's an important part here, because the book starts off. Obviously, you're just about to take another hit, and this voice comes into your head. Now, was this voice? Did it sound like your voice?
That's a really good question. Did that voice in my head sound like my voice? It's a really good question. I think we've got so many voices in our head sometimes. We just believe in everything that we tell ourselves, whether it's the judgments, the criticisms, the negativity, or just these old patterns, these old stories that go around. And so I was completely, hooked, I suppose, to that voice, the ego. And when I heard this voice, when I was just about to take this other hit, it just sounded softer and it sounded a bit more gentle. It was a bit kinder, and it was just. It's I don't know, it's a great question. It's a difficult one for me to answer. Sometimes I'm thinking, yeah, that's my higher self, that's my voice. Sometimes it feels like God or consciousness or energy, whatever we want to label it. So I think it's definitely part of my voice, but then it's also part of something bigger. It's like this collective voice. So it's a good question, difficult one for me to answer. But some days I'm that's God talking to me. Some days, no, that's me talking to myself. But like I say, what's more important for me is that I believe everybody's got that voice, so we can all access that higher self, that higher voice, and then just realise that the ego is separate from that. That's just an identity. It's like something that's been brainwashed or conditioned into us. And this other voice is a bit more gentle, it's a bit more kind. Sometimes I call it like love as well. It's just like, what would love say to you, right now when you're struggling? What would love say to you? How would love's voice sound?
I really want to move on and just come back to this, but I think we're just going to stick with it just for a second. What if that voice was your higher self, this oversoul part of us, if you could go down that road, which I think you can. But you could, it's potential that we could call it God. I mean, Neil Donald Walsh, who had that voice as well, as many other authors do, but just pulling him out just as someone that you've probably heard of. What if that voice it was God, but that God is you? What if your higher self is as powerful as it gets? When you cross over and it's all knowing and actually it's you. It was you all the way along, but it's that perfect part of yourself that's left over when we cross over to come here, in a sense. But that's how powerful that you are that God aspect, in a sense.
Yeah, totally agree with that as well. Yeah, I'm all for that. I love that part of us. I think that's, we came to the planet with that. When you look at a baby or a child, if I'm in a coffee shop, I'm just like, I'm meant to be writing, I'm meant to be working, but I'm just looking at babies because they're so pure. They're
Yeah.
so unconscious. It probably sounds dodgy, but they're so pure and so unconscious. Or conscious, sorry, I should say. They're just so loving and unconditional, and it's just beautiful. And then I think you're right, and that's how we came. We come here with that from wherever we've come from. And then we just kind of grow up and the ego gets formed and we kind of lose touch with that. And I think that voice that, that I connected with was that old voice then. And so all my practices, everything I do really is just trying to get back to that or just separating from the nonsense in the mind. Totally agree with that, yeah.
Well, when you say, looking at babies, when you looked in your daughter's eyes, I believe that was a massive aha moment for yourself. That was a massive turning point. It was a gift, basically, wasn't it?
100%. Yeah. I really do believe, in some way we choose our parents, or our children choose us. And, at the time when Ella arrived, I was a complete mess, drug dealing, driving cars for getaway drivers and completely addicted to my own supply. And it was like something pierced through my ego, reignited my heart when I looked into that little girl's eyes. And I was just like, wow. And obviously, you feel that from your parents, but they've got their own shit going on, pardon my language. They've got their own stuff going on. And so when Ella came, there was no conditions, there was no judgments. For me, I'm getting all goosebumps. It was just pure love. It was just amazing. And you can get that, you can get that with animals, you can get that with nature, you can get that with soulmates that you cross. But I think with us humans, or us adults, I should say, there is a lot of stuff in the way. So when Ella came, there was no mask, there was nothing there, and it ignited something very powerful. And And I think it just reminded me what it was like years ago when I first came myself. I was like, oh, right, all the chasing, all these illusions, the girls, the drugs, the holidays, the cars. It's good, don't get me wrong, at the time, before it became an addiction, but it never touched the magic that I felt when I held Ella and looked into her eyes. That was pure. That was just real, yeah.
Yeah, because I think at the beginning of the book, there's a dedication to her as well. And when I was reading the first few pages, yeah, that was a sort of a massive moment for yourself as well when you had that. Where was prison in all this then? In a sense, was this prior to when the book starts, or was that just after the book starts?
Yeah, so prison was before that. So I had I had this moment with Ella, and if I'm really honest, it felt amazing. It felt great, but I never changed. I went straight back out of the hospital, went down the pub and celebrated, wet the baby's head. Got drunk, got on the kind of drugs, and nothing changed. And if I'm really honest, the first sort of few years while Ella was born, I was selling drugs from the house. I was up to no good. Although I loved being a father and I was always there with her, I was kind of mindlessly parenting, I'd say. And yeah, I was just unaware at the time. And then, thankfully, I got sentenced to prison when she was sort of like 2, 3, I think it was. And I had a bigger wake up call when I found the book in prison.
Yes, you did find a book. It kind of came off the shelf towards you, didn't it? In a sense, you rushed off to your cell with it, sort of hiding it, I believe, and which is fine because I mean most people would. It depends where you are with all this. But this was a book on meditation, wasn't it?
Yeah, good point. The reason why I hid it was because even though I was, a drug addict and had all this drug psychosis and my life was a complete mess, I honestly thought, my ego thought that if anybody saw me reading a book on meditation and mindfulness, they'd think I've turned into some cult or some god squad in prison. So I was embarrassed. I didn't, I was trying to keep my face in prison. I didn't want people to, take the mickey out of me or whatever. So I literally, took the book back to my cell. And I think then it reminded me the feeling that I had with Ella. The book was talking about slow down, connection, get out of the mind. And it spoke about the important things. And the author, Jerry Brazar, he actually mentioned the story about him and his daughter and how important that really was. And it just, again, it really reminded me of that connection with Ella. It woke me up. And that's my first time I started to focus on my breath and meditate. And then it all started from there, really.
Yeah, I mean, not an easy time for anyone. Do you know what I mean? No matter what you've done, it's just it must have been a difficult time.
Yeah, totally, mate. You go into prison with the old the mask. You pretend you're brave. You pretend you're a bit of a tough nut. Me, I was all Jack the lad. But the hardest thing for me is actually when I got sent down and just looking at my mum. I felt so powerless. She was upset. She was really emotional, and I wasn't allowed back out of the courts, and I was going straight to a prison. And that broke me, if I'm honest. But again, I put this mask on, got to prison. I wore the mask so I didn't get bullied or beaten up, or I pretended I was somebody that I probably wasn't really. And so every night when I went back to the cell and read this book, it sounds crazy. Even though I was locked up, I felt free. I started to find this inner freedom, like freedom was inside. And I thought, actually, it doesn't really matter whether you're locked in a prison. The real prison is inside your own head, and it's the thoughts that I was thinking. And I just started to wake up to that.
God, that's so true. I mean, having that aha, using that word, aha moment again in prison, of all places, in the sense because you have lost your freedom. That's just incredible. That really, really is. I'm guessing it seems like another life when you look back. If you do bother looking back, sometimes, if you bother.
I think the books helped me look back. If I'm honest, I'm not one of these authors. I'm not like you say. Neil Donald Walsh is one of my favourite authors, and Wayne Dyer, bless his soul. I'm not one of those kind of authors that sits out in the veranda in the sun. And I don't know if those guys do. I didn't channel consciousness and just write there with a feather in my ear and just go la di da. So writing this book, if I'm really honest, it's been a journey for me. It took a few years. However, with that said, it's been probably one of the best journeys. I thought giving up drugs and crime was hard. Writing a book was hard, but it helped me kind of really see where I've come from to where I am now. Yeah. It's helped me see what's possible. And again, it's just reminded me, I've been off on my journey for 10 years and meditating and yogaing and doing all stuff. And then it just reminded me how hard it can be for somebody that's in prison or somebody that's just starting out. And so it was another little wake-up call, really. So I did reflect back while I was writing the book, actually. I did, yeah. It brought up some stuff, which was good. And it's just it's been a journey.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, absolutely. And okay, now, well, growing up as well, I mean, I think your dad's now living in Thailand. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, he lives in Thailand.
Yeah. you two sort of fed of each other at one point, didn't you? In a sense, there was a lot of drugs together. You were both in. It was almost like two mirrors, wasn't it? Just mirroring each other in a sense.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think for most kids, your mum and dad, or your dad especially, he's like your hero, isn't he? Your mum's there for the comfort and the nurturing, and your dad, whatever he's doing, you want to do. And so that was our relationship as a toddler. I just looked up to my dad. He was kind of like everything, really. And then I became a teenager. The hormones kicked in. My mum and dad sort of split up, and I was taking drugs anyway. And I suppose my dad was going through his own suffering, his own journey, and so we both started, using drugs together, and it just really ruined our relationship. It really kind of like. I needed somebody to kind of tell me what was right and wrong. I needed my dad, and obviously he was going through his own stuff. And then, when I look back, he lost his dad when he was like a 12-year-old kid. So for me, there was never no blame. It was just a bit messy, and it's like, how can you teach somebody something if you've never had that? So there's no blame, but it kind of made our relationship sour, and we kind of went off on our own journeys. But the beautiful thing now is, I went off and done my transformation. He went to Thailand and lives in a village, and he actually lives near. He lives near a temple, a Buddhist temple. He's married to an Asian lady, and the reason why I'm smiling is because when I was a kid, he was a racist football hooligan.
Yeah.
So he taught me all this stuff, but now he's like a happily married guy in a village with it was complete strangers, and I've never seen him any happier. And he talks about like some of the Buddhist concepts sometimes, and he's not, he still has a drink, he's still a bit of a geezer, but it's beautiful to see, because I think everybody's got that loving side inside them.
Of course, and the way I see it as well is, he was your greatest teacher in a sense as well.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's like I've become I think I'm a really amazing father to my daughter. I love being a dad. So from the things that I've gone through, it's allowed me to kind of, become a conscious parent and really become a great parent. So everything I went through with my mum and my dad, just biggest lessons ever, really. And in therapy, I've been a therapist for a few years, and I love helping people, but I noticed there's a bit of a thing, we've got a lot of blame on our parents, or we've still not forgiven our parents, or we're still going around. And some clients I've worked with, they've been doing this stuff for 20, 30 years, and it's like, we really need to see that past as something different, even if we want to look in the past, because it's not even really there. But if we are kind of looking at that, it's like, take those negatives and turn them into positives, whatever they are. Just what did you learn from that upbringing? What did you learn from your parents? And use it. And
it's so true, because your dad is, he's like us, he's like everyone. He's on a journey, and he's done his best. That's all you can say. He did his best. It may not feel like it was the best at the time, but he did his best. And and in the end, he is as divine as we all are. Do you know what I mean? In the sense, we're all that consciousness that we all came from somewhere. We're all going back to it. That's our truth, in a sense. But so you can't, to say that if people were to look at this interview and say, "Oh, what a bad dad," no, you can't look at it like that. He came down as a teacher to you, and you to him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I love it. I love the way you said that, Kevin. And his name's Kevin, actually.
Oh, is it? Right, okay, yeah. Yeah. Well, we've got one thing in common, which is good. There you go.
Yeah. Two things. You're divine light as well.
Two things, yeah. Well, my last girlfriend was Asian, so there's three things. So, so okay, yeah. Well, that's incredible, and for you guys to have that relationship that you've got now, that's a beautiful thing as well. That healing is taking place, and I think what you teach as well. You've been through it. You've experienced it yourself. You're not someone that's just coming along with a bit of a degree and no experience behind you, which is fine to have a degree and all that. I'm not saying it's not, but just you've got the life experience there. You've lived it, which is always a great thing. So when you got out of prison and things changed for yourself, obviously during prison, but when you got out, how strong was that voice at the time in your head, and in the sense of that you were then trusting it enough to follow it?
I think that's a really great point, and I'm glad you asked that question, because I think I probably lasted about 24 hours, and I was straight down the pub, sniffing cocaine, and I was completely back to my old ways, if I'm honest. Came out in prison, I was listening to, doing the meditation, listening to the voice, and everything was hunky-dory. I wrote a letter to my mum, said I was going to change and be a new person and be a better son and be a better dad. And like I say, 24 hours later, I was bang at it. As soon as I got out, I was bang at it. Back into my old haunts, back with my old friends. And I think for a lot of young offenders, that's like the biggest problem. Like, we just go straight back to square one, really. We're with our old friends and we've got all this stuff. And so that's what happened to me. Again, I made all my own choices. It was all my own doing, but I didn't really last that long. And I think it was about probably about a year, maybe later. I'm really bad with the times because I was out of my head so much. But it was around a year later that I just ended up straight back in prison again, you know, and it got worse. The drugs were getting worse. The crack was getting more intense. I was robbing drug dealers, you know, it was getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And again, the second prison sentence it woke me up. I remembered that I'd made this vow to change. And I was hearing the little voice along the way, but I ignored it. You know, I think Gandhi said that voice is always trying to talk to us, like you said, whether it's God, the higher self, or our perfect self. That divine light is always trying to talk to us. But we're so caught up in our own ego that we believe in that bullshit. We're so caught up in the media and the stories that we follow that stuff. And so I was kind of ignoring that voice in a way. I knew the right and wrong. I knew I should have done a left instead of a right, but I was trying to go my own way, and my ego wanted to go that way. So I ended up back in prison, and I kind of ignored it. But I come out of prison and went to Thailand, and I actually went to see my dad. And this was when we was both still drinking and partying pretty hard. But his wife took me to a temple. She took me to a Buddhist temple. And again, I'm not Buddhist. I live by their concepts, but I'm not 100% Buddhist, if I'm honest. Yeah. But I just went to this temple, got on my hands and knees. And again, the ego's thinking, if only your mates could see you now, you know, people would really, you know, you're really into it now, Brett. But I got on my hands and knees and I prayed. And again, I begged for help. I asked for forgiveness, and I said, I'll do everything I can within my power to change. Give me a second chance. And there was no bright white light. There was no big kind of like spiritual moment, but I just felt good. You know, it felt nice to get it off my chest and reconnect. And I came home from Thailand, and literally I went back to my dad's house. We was there, you know, I was drinking so much. I detoxed on his settee. You know, I was shaking from all the drink and the drugs from Thailand. And I literally packed 2 or 3 black bags, and my mum came and picked me up. She was living in Salisbury, about 2 hours away. And I just packed 2 black bags and just got in the car and drove. And we went to Salisbury, and I lived with my mum, and I never went back. So, and just to point out as well, a few years after that, I got arrested for a drink driving offence. A year after that, you know, I borrowed money to start a business and I had to go bankrupt. And the reason why I want to share those, people would call them failures, I suppose, but to me, they're lessons, they're opportunities. Every time I screwed up, even when I went back to prison, you know, for the first hour, maybe the first few days, I was like, oh man, what have I done? But then I coached myself into believing, actually, this can be an opportunity. Just like dust yourself off, start again, reconnect to that stuff inside. Even with the business, you know, with relationships, I'm still learning just like anybody else. But in the end, the voice becomes louder. The connection that you've got, it becomes deeper. And now, you know, if that voice tells me to do something, I'll do it. There's no way I'm even going to not ignore it. You know, I'll just do it because I trust in it 100% now.
Yeah, you know, that's so true. My ex-partner, she's a big YouTuber. And she always told me that the reason she got where she was, and it doesn't equal complete happiness, I'm not saying that, but the reason when she got where she was she always listened to that voice. She never ignored it, and because of that, it's never let her down. So I can say, living with someone, I know what you're saying is so true. You know, I've seen the effects of it as well, personally. It is, it works, and it's all knowing, and it's see the reason I said about the voice. Could you personify and call that voice yourself, was because, you know, maybe we take away the power from ourselves, that we're not that powerful enough to we don't love ourselves enough to think that we're that powerful, that we have this ability, that we are that voice. Yeah, we always call it something else because we, you know, if we loved ourselves enough, we realize that, well, that is me. That's how powerful I am. It doesn't make me better than anyone else, but that's the power that I have, and look what I can do with it.
Yeah, I love it. You're singing my tune, Kevin. Yeah. And I think for me, it's like, I think, you know, the words, that's why it's hard to write a book. Words limit us. You know, we try and put all these like love, consciousness, God, power, me, you know, we just limit ourselves with the words, and the mind just can't comprehend how magnificent this stuff really is. It's just epic. And so for me, it's a bit of both. It's like, yeah, we are the most powerful things on this planet. And I just think there's some kind of magic up in the sky, or in our cells. And if Einstein can't work it out, I don't think we're going to work it out. You know, It's just be fascinated by this mystery, be fascinated by love, be fascinated by that power, and use it, like you said, like your partner. Trust in it, just use it, go with it. Because if not, we're going to be listening to the negativity that we're bombarded with, or the negativity in our own brains, and that ain't to me, that's just an illusion.
It is, and I don't think it matters on age. I mean, you could be in your 70s, and that negativity could be quite there. You know, it could be quite strong. You could be with your life partner in your 70s, and you're bouncing off each other still, with not really knowing or having ever explored that side of what this, as you call it, monkey noise is. This projecting into the future, or you know, being addicted to what happened in the past, but never really allowing it to just breathe and just move away and dissolve and say, well, look, I'm not my future, I'm not my past. Where are we right now? What's going on right now?
Yeah, that's where the Eckhart Tolle says, isn't it? That's where the juice is. That's where the aliveness is, and just really coming into now. You know, I've got some really big ambitions. I've got loads of goals, just like everybody else. But I do them because I think human evolution is about growing. You know, you're doing your radio show in my book. It's not about the end result. It's about growing along the way. Kevin becomes more Kevin, Brett becomes more Brett, and you know, you learn more about yourself. If we're doing the goals and chasing the visions and doing all that to make us happy, then we've kind of got that a bit wrong, I think. It's like, because that now, that happiness and that aliveness and the real bliss is here right now. It's nowhere else.
This is true. Why do we do what we do as well sometimes? I mean, some of us are so much stuck in a rut that we don't enjoy what we do as well. I mean, this is what part of your work as well, isn't it? As a life coach, is that right?
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, I've got that. Yeah, good. Yeah, but this living our purpose, this doing what we love to do. I think that's part of it as well. Because if we're not doing what we really enjoy, then it does become does become a bit painful, doesn't it not?
100%, mate. I think the key to a really happy and a successful life, and when I say successful, I mean like the inner success. I think the key to that is to really find your purpose in life. And like you said, something amazing. It doesn't matter if you're 70-year-old or a 7-year-old. You know, something that you enjoy doing, something that you love doing, something that gets your juices flowing. And it's, you know, let's face it. You look out into the world. Most people have lost that spark. They're without being, probably sounds really judgmental, but they're like zombies, just walking through the 9 till 5 grind, the conveyor belt, going round and round and round, bitching and moaning about the politicians, about the refugees, about, you know, money and money's greed, all that kind of not taking 100% responsibility and waking up. And it's like, I think you're right. If you find a purpose in that, you'll never really, I wouldn't say you never really want for anything, but you'll never really feel that kind of hole in the soul, is what I call it. You know, I think we're chasing everything externally to feel something internally. It's just backward logic. So find what internally ignites your kind of spark. To me, it's having a purpose in life, or, you know, connection is really important for me, and helping others. And that's just me. That's just Brett's story. Somebody else might want to save the whales and the dolphins. Somebody else might want to save the planet, and that's great. But find your purpose. It's as unique as your fingerprint. And when you find that, it changes the whole game. You literally then you see the system, you see the illusion. You're like, everybody else can keep on doing what they're doing, but I'm living this thing. And like your partner, your ex-partner, sorry, she's obviously living her purpose and she's loving it. Not everybody wants to be a YouTuber. Not everybody wants to be an author, but that's what we want to do, and it makes us really kind of buzz.
And it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what that purpose is. It doesn't matter. Even if it's being a mum, that's a great thing, or being a dad, that's fantastic. Christ. But whatever it is, whatever industry it is, it doesn't matter. Except that you're enjoying it, and that, you know. And I suppose what you enjoy is a natural purpose of helping others. I think that's true. I mean, there's a lot of chat out there in the sense of that, you know, it's good people have said it as well, that, you know, to help others is to help yourself, but it's also, it works the other way. To help yourself is to help others as well.
Yeah, it's just 2 points that came out from that. Number one, I think the purpose of life is to live. Simple as that. The purpose of life is to be in this experience. We're on a massive rock spinning around in this massive universe. No one really has a clue what's going on.
No.
And we're just like little speckles of dust compared to it. You know, we've got two dates of destiny, the birth date and the death date. If everyone's listening to this, they've already had the first date. Nobody knows when that second date's coming. But what's more important when you look at a gravestone is that dash in between those dates. And that dash in between is your life. You know, and you've got to live that life and experience that life as much as you want. And I think that's the purpose of life. So you don't even have to go off and be a Gandhi or a Mother Teresa. You just live your life, get your own juices flowing, and do what you really... As long as you're not hurting anybody, as long as you're kind of like living your life and you're happy. And then the second thing, I think as well, is the ego is all about getting. You know, we want to get a relationship, we want to get money, we want to get success, we want to be a best-selling author so I can get more authority. Whatever it is, we want to get. When it comes to love and purpose, it's all about giving. And it's such a cliche, but they're so right. when you give out love, when you give out money, it comes back to you in abundance. And that has never let me down. And I know when my ego's in charge or when my heart's in charge, and it's just, you watch the results, you watch the cause and effect, and it's just, proof is in the pudding. So I think the ego is about getting, and then having a purpose is about giving. This weekend we just put an event on called Yoga for Syria. And I've tried loads of little projects in the past to make money. Every time I do something which is for charity, we basically got over 300 yogis in the room. We raised over like £6,000, £4,000 for the actual charity. It went without any hitches. It went plain sailing. It was smooth. As soon as my head's like, right, okay, I want to get this and I want to get that, there's always like a few roadblocks along the way. I'm not saying don't have stuff and don't get stuff, but just be mindful where it's coming from. So that's my penny's worth.
Well, actually, did you feel that now that you're more in tune with this voice, that manifestation for you happens a lot quicker?
It's like law of attraction on steroids. It's just so faster and so stronger.
Yeah, because you're more in tune with that voice. It's just whatever you want to a point that you don't have to wait for too much. It just happens. And have you questioned that less now?
Yeah, you trust in it. I think more and more when you first do it. It's you first get into law of attraction. You realize you create your own reality. You want a nice car, you want a lovely girlfriend, you want some money, and then you kind of maybe you get that. I have in the past. I've manifested things that it's hard for some people to believe in a matter of like weeks or maybe months. And it's like, really? Did you really manifest that money? And I'm like, yeah, it really, really worked. I'll give you a quick story. I went to Thailand I've been to Thailand quite a lot. And I was out there and I thought, I really want to buy a condo in Thailand. I want to buy my own little pad in Thailand so I can just travel over there and spend like 2 or 3 months in the sun and come back.
Wow. And
so I started manifesting it, started visualizing a condo, started looking at all the estate agents in Thailand while I was out there, reading the papers. I got back to England and I got a letter from the Abbey National at the time. And it was like, would you like a £15,000 loan? And I was just like, wow, it's the universe, it's the law of attraction working with me. And so the first thing I did was like, yes, please, signed it off. And this is how crazy this is. I went to the bank to get the money out of the bank, out of the Abbey National, and I had to get it out of that bank and transfer it into a Lloyd's account. They counted it out. I walked from one bank in the same high street to the next bank, like 2-minute walk. And unless somebody just put extra money in there, I don't know where it came from. I went to Lloyd's, they counted it out, there was 5,500. I was like, no, it was 15,000. She said, no, there's 15,500. She said, what would you like me to do? I went, I'll put it all in the bank. So I'm being really honest. I didn't go back to the Abbey and tell them that they've put another 500 quid.
Yeah.
Long story short, really long story short, I blew all that money. I went to Thailand. I never bought a condo. I bought a car. I smashed it up like 2 days later. I spent all the money on girls, drugs, and partying. I came back with a £15,000 debt. Now, the reason why I'm sharing that, hopefully for some people to kind of get, is that all came from my ego. My ego just wanted to buy that condo. I wanted to look good. I wanted to say I had a place in Thailand. There was no heart in it whatsoever. And so when my ego, your ego can get what you want, but it just doesn't make you happy. And 9 times out of 10, there's a lot of consequences coming with it. And now my heart's saying, well, let's just raise money for charity. Let's write a book to help kids that are in prison. Let's help people. And it's like, people said, how did you get a publisher? I just went and met Jo and had a coffee, and she said, yeah, we'll take you on. Some people are struggling for years because they want to be best-selling authors. And I don't know if that's true, but it's how it's working for me, just working for Brett.
It's a great thing. And I thank you so much for sharing that story as well. And I think... that there's people in prison that do you feel that you could help? Do you feel that's something that you would want to do?
Yes, we've started a project called Waking Up Inside. So you're literally waking up inside and then you're waking up behind bars in prison. So it's like a double. So you're waking up inside prison. So at the moment I'm doing talks, and when people buy my book, I'm giving them the opportunity to buy 2, and I keep one and they write a note in it. And I take it to prisons and I give talks to inmates and I give them the book. And so a complete stranger at one of my talks has written a note to them. They've bought them a book and then now I'm handing it to them. So to me, everyone's connected. It's like that ripple effect. And we've got a few big prisons, actually. I can't really say their names, but a few big prisons on board. Watkins have kindly donated 1,000 books to prisons.
Wow.
And so I'm just going to go around, give the prisons out. And without being rude, Kev, I love talking to people that are on the bus. Somebody said to me, you're preaching to the converted. I love that. It really gets my juices flowing. But where my passion is to help people that haven't got a clue, that I think, mate, you're nuts. What are you talking to a higher self for? And then when it clicks for them, they go on to really really find life, I suppose.
Yeah, no, that's really really good what you're doing there. I mean, there's nothing to say you have to do what you're doing there, but I think you could help a lot of people in ways that you couldn't imagine, that are inside as well, that are suffering as well. A double inside there as well, in a sense. That's a great name for the project as well. Okay. Now, thanks for sharing that as well. Now, you in this book you call it engineering yourself. Basically, it's all about, all the chapters are based on engineering, which I think is a great way of terming it as well. From engineering your consciousness to engineering your love as well. Are you still engineering yourself?
110%, mate. Yeah, just this morning I was doing a bit of yoga, listening to positive affirmations and confidence. So yeah, to me, I'll probably be on my deathbed, mate, writing gratitude lists out or setting visions for when I go to heaven if I'm going there. Yeah.
I love it.
I think it's. I think there's a difference. Again, this is just my opinion. Maybe you want to call it opinion or just my discovery. There's a difference between an alcoholic that gets off of alcohol and doesn't change any of his patterns or his behaviours. He changes, he stops drinking, but he's still a miserable sod. He doesn't get a job. He's just moaning about life. To me, there's no point in giving up the alcohol. You might as well keep drinking, because at least you've got something good going on, or at least you've got a couple of bits of happiness in your life. You can have a drink. And so I think there's a big difference between just changing and then transformation. And I think, and that's what I kind of wrote the book. It was called Wake Up. Like, transformation is a whole process. And I think it's a never-ending journey. We're always growing, we're always evolving. And if you're not, you're going to become stagnant. You're going to be stuck in the ego. So, I work on myself a lot, if I'm honest, mate. I think that's the most important thing that I do. A couple of hours in the morning, and throughout the day, I'm always doing what Dalai Lama says. I'm reflecting on the things that I've said. I'm reflecting on the way I've behaved. I close my eyes and visualize my future. I wake up the next day and say to myself, did I have a good day yesterday? Did I treat Kevin right? Did I speak from my heart and stuff like that? So I think it's a never-ending journey, and I love it. It gets my juices flowing.
I think a great thing about yourself is that look, we don't have to tell everybody our deepest, darkest secrets and all that rubbish, but I think there's a side to you, a big side to you, where you're very open about things. I can feel that right now with the way you're coming across, and I think there's not enough people in this field that are really open sometimes to things that have gone on, or what they're up to and what they're doing, and I'm saying to myself more and more, you know what, I've just what have you got to hide? Just be open. Just be, just tell people what you're up to, what you're doing and stuff. There's nothing to hide. The more transparency you are with yourself, the more it radiates to everyone else. I mean that's half the problem with this world, and it is transparency. If we was all a bit more transparent, it would be so different. I mean, look at the issues with offshore banking right now in the UK, where all these papers have come through. Because there's no transparency. Do you know what I mean? Not that well, that's a bit of a strange way to example in a sense, but well, no, it's not, because it isn't. It's not. But okay, think of a company then, and maybe that's a better example, where you've got a woman and a man both doing the same job, putting the same hours in, but the man gets paid more. Yeah. Because there's no transparency in the companies neither. That's the kind of example I'm saying. That if we were just
totally
had that bit more transparent. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that hats off to yourself for being that way, and I think that's the only way that you can probably help people, is to be that way.
Yeah, I think so, man. And I think it's funny thing. It's not. Again, this isn't about the Brett show. The book isn't even about Brett. I know I'm plastered all over it, covered in tattoos. I know it's got my name on it, but I've got. I mean, yeah, I can see myself being a best-selling author in like a few years' time, and I've got those kind of goals, but that's not really the important thing for me. It's the kid that's in prison at the moment, just about to cut his wrists, or a young, I lost my little cousin a few weeks ago, bless her. She overdosed. She was only 20-something on drugs, and
hell.
and it's really sad. And I've got my own kind of my own woo-woo ways of dealing with it. So I pray, and I feel more connected to her now, and all that kind of stuff. And it's inspired me more to help people, really. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I'm so transparent. I try to be, I should say. There's probably still some things in there that I haven't told everyone, but I try my best to be it. People just open up to me. Like, within 10 minutes, they're telling me their darkest secrets, and they're like, really. And I feel like, that's a bit of my message. It's like, if I can just keep doing that for myself, it allows other people to not live their bullshit. They can just get out of their own stuff. And once you get that off your chest, once you say it, it's like the weight of the world is off your shoulders. So, you can't save everybody, but you can save a lot more people the more you speak your own truth, or you be in your truth and just live your truth. a lot of people probably think we're barking mad talking about this stuff, but it gets us going. We enjoy it. We love it. And this is our truth.
Well, that's fine, but you could say the same about most religions, then, in a sense.
Yeah, totally.
You know, I've just been, well, should I say, I've just been studying some other religions, the Quran, and I just, there's just some things in there that just really don't resonate with me too well. But that's their truth. That's but no one questions that. We're not allowed to, apparently, or Christian beliefs as well. So it's not just one or the other for me. But no, I don't know where this is going, but but bringing this back to what you were just saying about transparency, you mentioned relationship there. I think that's a really key point as well. Not just the relationship with yourself, but the relationship with others. Just hanging on with the relationship with yourself, just to begin with. Now, you don't drink anymore?
No, 8 or 9 years without a drink. 3 years as a vegan. Obviously,
Wow.
don't take drugs. Don't take any drugs.
Yeah.
I went 3 years celibate as well, so I went 3 years without sex, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And I'm not preaching that to anyone. I don't tell anybody not to take drugs. I don't tell people not to have relationships. For me, it's just like listening to that voice, working out. I'm like I just think we're all our own kind of scientists, really. And I'm just testing what works for me, what makes me feel good. And, the more, it sounds a bit godly, but the more pure you become, the higher you vibrate, the more energy you've got, the more love you feel. Mm-hmm. And I'm also, I wouldn't say I'm into conspiracy theories, but when I look at the system and they're telling me what to eat, they're telling me what to strive for, I'm like, actually, the people that go for that don't seem bloody happy. So how about I'll go on my own little journey? And yeah, so I'm clean, drink, no drugs, and it unlike drugs, the higher you go and the purer you become, the better it gets. There's no there's no negative consequences in my mind.
No. Now it's funny you say that. Now I'm at a point where I'm thinking of kicking in drink, and I am actually getting closer to that point. Even though I probably will go and get plastered this weekend, but I actually have got that thought in my head now more than it was there before, which I just don't think I need it anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's not doing it for me. So I'm this natural high you're talking about is just being in tune with that voice, with life, and all the other great things that you do. I think with the drugs as well. I think it's a way of forgetting, isn't it? It's a way of blocking things. Just like the drinks are drugs as well, but the other types of drugs we're talking about as well. It is a way of blocking it. But then I suppose, in some places, in America, drugs are legal. Cannabis is legal, and I mean that's not the type of drugs we're talking about, for example. But there are medical benefits to things, I suppose. Do you know what I mean? If you're in a lot of pain, but for me, I'm kind of resonating with you because I can understand what you're saying, that you don't need these blocks sometimes. It's not who you truly are. To find that true connection, you just breathe.
Nice. Yeah, totally. And open your eyes and open your heart, I suppose. And just going back to what you said, because I think it's really good and well done. Thanks for sharing your honesty like that. Giving up the drink and stuff like that. But there's a lot of people out there, and I've met so many people that are in that same situation. They're thinking about, and I think even if you're thinking about it, there's something in it. If you're just thinking about it, then there is some kind of conflict, maybe. Whether you wake up on a Monday morning and it's like suicide watch because you're depressed because you're drunk so much, or you feel guilty and negative because you've pulled your pants down and ran around naked in a pub. I don't know. Or even worse, you ended up fighting or taking drugs or slept with someone. It just lowers our inhibition. So I think even if you're thinking about it, there is some kind of inner conflict. And I believe in a way maybe that is, like you said, your highest self. It is consciousness. It is whatever, the perfect you that kind of knows that actually this stuff technically is poison for my body. Do I really want to be doing it? It's not really helping my mind. It's not really helping my emotions. And we live in a society where it's so susceptible. Again, I'm not against drink. I don't tell people to give up alcohol.
No.
I just help people feel more alive and feel high on life. And what I've noticed is in the end, when you really feel that, it's like, why would I want to drink? Why would I want to? I couldn't handle a hangover no more. I've got so many things to do. I love life so much.
It's so true what you're saying, because when you had that drink, you do feel pretty down in the morning. I don't care. I mean, some people say, well, I never suffer from a hangover and all that. I don't care, but that's not quite true. The truth is you do, and it does bring you down, especially drugs. I mean, what goes up comes down 10 times worse, crushingly down. But again, I think, without no judgment, because I've done it all, and will I ever do it again? I can't say never. But I don't. Yeah, it is escapism. That's the word I'm looking for. It's a bit of escapism, I think. But it's not. There's no answer in it really. Would I? Yeah, like you're not trying to. You've done your thing. And if people want to do it, that's fine. But there is another way. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, totally. And I don't think I had a conversation with someone about being a vegan. She said, "Oh, you're trying to brainwash me to not hurt animals and that." And it made me laugh because if you just looked at the market and you looked at society, you're being brainwashed to do it. And it wasn't really my argument. But what I actually said to her was actually, you can't really have I wouldn't even call it an argument, but maybe a discussion. You can't really say that until you've had both sides of the fence. So for me, I've kind of drunk socially, and then I've gone to the extreme. Same with drugs, same with sex, everything, and it's an addictive personality. And then now I'm on the other side of the fence, and now I'm going the other way. So I kind of feel like I could actually say, well, actually, here's the proof. This is how it works. This is what's going on. And again, whether it was with the veganism, with the food, with the sex, whatever it is, it's like you can't really have that discussion if you're only on one side of the fence. So what I always say, and I could challenge you right now, Kev, is to take like 30 days off of it. Just take 30 days off the drink. Take 30 days off the meat. Take 30 days off of the porn. Take 30 days off spending money on shopping, whatever it is. And then after 30 days, then, like I said, you're just your own scientist. Like, you're doing your own tests. And I'll see how you feel. Do I feel better after 30 days? If I do I really want to go back to it? Do I feel worse after 30 days? Have I got a serious problem with drinking, shopping, drugs, sex? And I think a lot of people can't really say much until you've done that. And, when you say to people, take 30 days off a drink, they're like, oh, that's impossible. Some people love it. So, again, it's just down personal choice. If anyone is listening and they're thinking about it, just do 30 days. And then you're not telling your mind. It's like telling a kid in a sweet shop, don't touch the sweets. The first thing, as soon as you walk out the door, the kid's going to touch the sweets. If you tell your mind that you're going to give up alcohol for the rest of your life, it's too much pressure, or you're going to give up for 30. Just say I'm having a break for 30 days. I'm just going to give myself a little bit of time out, and then I can see how I feel after. I guarantee you have more energy, you'll get more done, you'll know yourself a lot more, and new ideas and visions and flashes just pop into your mind because your brain and your energy isn't clogged up with this stuff, really.
That's right. And
that's my rant over, Kev. That was my preaching.
No. It's all good. No, going back to the sex as well. I think this is an important thing as well. Is that I see a lot of relationships where we're from one person to the next, and they never give themselves that breather. Literally no breath whatsoever, in the sense that they are literally into the next relationship. And now I think, well, maybe they're destined to meet that person, that's what's supposed to happen, but I think there's still complete free will in all this. And I think where is the break, where is that moment where you really get to know yourself? It's almost like the sex is the addictive side, to wanting just to be with someone just for the sex. And well, it's a lot bigger than that, isn't it? Even the people I'm talking about would probably agree with that. I know they would, but have they ever given themselves that space? And what does that space do? What did it do for you?
Yeah, I think you're right, mate. To be honest with you, it's like everything. I gave up the drugs because I was bored of the drugs. I gave up the drink because I was bored of the feelings. And then in the end, I got bored of sex. Now, from a bloke's point of view that really loved women and still does love women and loves that affection and passion, a lot of blokes probably think I've either gone the other way or there's something wrong with me. But it wasn't. I just got bored of... number one, maybe manipulating women. Number two, kind of having sex and there was nothing deeper in it. It was just sex. And I read a book, I think it was called Sperm Wars. And it's like I just looked at myself as a biological being that just is here to reproduce. And I thought, is that what my life is going to be about? Just reproduce. And then I think I wrote in my book as well about, when you fall in love, or that honeymoon period, and you're texting each other, or you're like, oh, she's so amazing, and or he's so beautiful, and he can't do nothing wrong. It sends the same signals, the same chemicals in your brain as cocaine. So it's literally, sex is just a drug. And so I thought to myself, do I really want to be addicted to that side of it? And, again, extreme, I was sleeping with, prostitutes, really addicted to porn, and so I know that I was at the extreme, don't get me wrong, but I just thought I want more than that. Mm-hmm. And so exactly what you just said, I realised that all I'm ever going to do is take myself into the same relationship. I'll take all my baggage to the next relationship and then the next relationship. Mm-hmm. So I literally decided to give up for a year, took a vow in the monastery, done a year, and then I just felt so good. I had built a relationship with myself. I got to really love myself. And then it went on to 3 years. And again, I'm still learning. I gave up last year, met somebody straight away. It was amazing. We had some amazing relationship connection and sex. But again, it was just that. It wasn't a deeper thing. So I learned a lot more. So I've still got to do work on myself like everybody else. But it was great to have the break, to be able to have a relationship with myself. It was great to realise that I didn't have to act on the impulses, and I could just feel it. And again, not denying those feelings. Now I'm actually looking into the Tantra.
Oh yeah, Tantra, yeah.
Because it's just again, back to what we was talking about, ego. For me, sex was all about getting. You get the girl, you have the sex, boom, it's over. You roll over, you have a cigarette, and you're all done. And Tantra, to me, from the little bit that I know about it, it's about giving. So you give the woman pleasure, you're giving love, and it just at the moment it's making my heart sing. Not talking about getting into a big orgy with everyone. I'm talking about finding somebody or just evolving consciously for a beautiful relationship. So that's where I'm at the moment. I'm starting to learn about a bit of Tantra and just see where that takes me.
Yeah, because Tantra, it's not just sex. I don't think it's a bit deeper than that. But it is. I mean, but it's not. But yeah, it's no, it's something I've sort of looked at a little bit. But yeah, it's definitely something I would revisit again. I think just to have a look at that. But sometimes this idea that you went into a celibate relation, celibate for 3 years. Sometimes that celibacy can be involuntary.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Well, in the sense that someone's not meeting anyone as hard as they try, it's just not happening, and what I mean is that the universe giving you the break that you won't give to yourself?
Yeah, it's a good point. I've never really looked at it that way, mate. To be honest with you, I suppose it's a good way of looking at it for some people. Yeah, or maybe it could be that person. Could be their confidence, maybe sort of getting out there. They're not sort of in the right circles. Yes, I'm not really sure how to answer that one. I suppose it could be the universe doing that.
Well, do you know what I mean? There are two sides to that. You went voluntary. Sometimes there's involuntary for people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
So, yeah. So if anyone's listening, they've been going through that. There could be deeper reasons for that as well.
That's a good point. Yeah, totally. There's a deeper reason for them to go through that sort of period. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And I think, okay, you're talking about porn addiction there as well. I think it's so easy now to get into that space. I think the dangerous thing about porn nowadays is that it's so easily available for anyone. It doesn't have to be our age. Do you know what I mean? It could be younger people. That's what I'm going to here, in the sense that it's not. I think there are problems with that industry in a sense that it's just there's a lot of pressure. I think that's where I'm coming to for younger people as well. With sex, and I don't think porn is really teaching lovemaking, is it? Do you know what I mean? That's such.
Totally. Yeah. It's not passionate and romantic, is it?
No, and I'm not trying to say there's anything wrong with porn, because well, some people will say, well, there is, because of the way it's abusive towards women. But I think, having spoken to women who are in porn, I think a lot of them chose to go into it. For the people that I've spoken to, I know there's a nasty side to it as well. And I'm not trying to, I'm trying to stay away from wrongs and rights. So that's what I'm trying to be here, because I'm not going to judge.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I don't think I would judge. I would never in a million years judge. And I'm saying that we're all judgmental, but but I wouldn't believe in my judgments, and I wouldn't kind of look at somebody. For me, I'll be a bit bold and just actually, I think there is something wrong with porn. No, I've got a 14-year-old daughter, and I don't believe any daughter or any woman should sell their body for sex, or for a guy just to be at home and pleasure, whether that's actually having sex, whether it's been on the other end of the internet looking at the sex. And that probably comes, again, I'm not 100% Buddhist, but it comes from a Buddhist kind of philosophy that body and that sexual conduct, and now listening to the Tantra, it is a beautiful, special thing. Now, I'm not a prude, and, if anybody wants to go out and have a good bit of sex, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
I just think I've read a lot of stuff, and it's just, I think there's something deeper going on. If somebody's in front of a camera having sex with 20, 30 different blokes, and it's not a judgment, it really isn't a judgment. What I'd rather do is just get to know that person and go deeper and go deeper. Maybe it's to do with self-love, maybe it's to do with self-confidence, whatever. And again, with like having a 14-year-old daughter, I just couldn't get my head, now I can't get my head around it. And again, that's coming from somebody that was, that loved it, that was addicted to it, that, has been with like models or porn stars, really just loved it, really, really, really loved it, and come from the other side. So, yeah, most blokes probably would go, oh, actually, and even women have kind of said, no, there's nothing wrong with it. I know lots of girls that love sex, but if it is an addiction, if those studies are right, that there is some kind of addiction there. Even Facebook's an addiction. You keep looking at your likes. So if there is an addiction, then that isn't really being spiritual or like loving or human, whatever. I don't know where I'm going with it now at the end, but Does that make sense? It's like there is a bit of an addiction there, rather than it being just, oh, it's porn and let's look at it. That's just my spin.
Yeah, it is, and I suppose, yeah, okay, yeah, that's your truth, that's right,
Yeah.
and for someone else it may be a different truth, but I am listening to what you're saying, and I'm thinking, well, have I got it wrong then? I mean,
Well, none of us are going
yeah,
wrong or right.
yeah, it's my way of thinking of it. If I had a daughter, I would think of it differently, but then again, I would think of it as that soul come down to choose.
Yes.
Do you know? It's like me saying.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if I'm a spiritual piece of energy in the sky, if this is what we are, or an angel from God, and he says, "What do you want to do when you go down there?" It's like, right, I'm going to be a porn star. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. That's like maybe.
Yeah,
I want to be a drug dealer. I don't know.
Well, maybe it's not. It's all divine in the sense. Even you going to prison, it's just as divine as the porn, because in a sense you get to choose. There's nothing above you saying you have to do this or do that. That's how loving it is. It's do what you want. Choose what you want, experience what you want, but get to and through all those experiences, get to remember who you truly might be.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. I think if you've got 50 porn stars and 49 of them say, you know what, I love it, I really enjoy it, this is how I make my money, and there's one person that says I hate it, then I'd focus on the one person and say, okay. And I suppose when you look at the statistics, and I watched a really good talk on TED. Most of it is, it's so corrupt. A lot of people are, when you look behind the scenes of it, I think when that mask goes and there's a beautiful woman covered in makeup and she's talking how much she loves it, if you really kind of got down to it, that's what I find sad, I suppose. But if they really, really 100% authentically love taking drugs, being a porn star, love drinking, smoking crack cocaine, then crack on. That's like you say, that's their journey. Yeah.
It is, but is it really as nourishing as rediscovering who they truly might be, or really just without any of those things? But maybe as soon as you come down to this bloody level, it's just the opposites are just so attractive in a sense. I don't know.
Yeah.
And
the funny thing is, it takes you bloody years to wake up and get on this path, and it takes you seconds to relapse and go back to square one. So.
And with no judgments on that relapse.
Yeah, no, totally. It's just one of those. Again, there's me talking about porn, and again, I'm not saying I'm completely Mr. Goody Two Shoes. Like I say, I met a beautiful girl the weekend. I just noticed how this stuff comes up, and then I just, like you say, I know, or I feel what feels better when I don't, and what feels better when I do. When I'm on the path and I'm meditating and I'm practicing and I'm having these interviews and I'm helping people, you feel higher than any drug you could ever possibly take, or even sex.
Yeah.
But when you're in that, it's like I feel like it's a heavier energy. It's not the divine. It's more the system. It's more ego. It's more.
You think all what we're talking about now, right? How impregnated that is in religion, about how wrong a lot of these things that we're talking about is. Yet that's because that's the system of that's in control. And in different parts of the world, like Thailand and Asia, where religion's very heavy, a lot of these are really taboo things to talk about. Yet there's so much control in a different way in them that's more negative. So to refine the space that you found, this where you're in charge of the story, it is a beautiful place to come to, and it's not so easy sometimes. Even what you've been through to compare to someone in another country that's going through a control in a different way, it's all a difficult journey to get to where you are, but it's all
relative, isn't it?
Of course it is. Yeah. It's difficult to put it into words in an interview that's 51 minutes sometimes. It's almost impossible, because now I'm looking at the clock and we're running out of space, and there's so much stuff we haven't even covered in the book. Do you know what I mean? We just got onto porn. So, but I think it's important to talk about it, because not many shows will, or not they won't, but I'm going to talk about it because I think all these basic things are things that are in our society now that you've lived it and you brought it in your book. That's why I'm talking about it as well, and I have as well. I mean, my background's varied. Don't think I'm some kind of prune either, because I am 100% not. Okay, let's get the most important thing to wrap this up, I think, is getting just to talk a tiny little bit about the head noise as well, because or the basics we can do to re-engineer our thoughts in just a few minutes, basically, right? So there's a lot of noise going on for some people in this moment right now, and it could be noise from the things that we've spoken about, which are not helping, and just noise from pain that they're going through, no matter whatever it is that's causing that pain. How do you get back as a day-to-day thing, practice, to just get into that space of silence where you're not ignoring the suffering that you're going through, but you're able to get back to that inner voice to tell you, that that's always there to guide you, basically?
Yeah, great question. I think for me and for the clients I coach and the people that I mentor, it's about, like we've basically said, just coming back to the breath, focusing on the breath, closing your eyes and taking an inner journey. So this external noise, this external system, this external sort of stuff that's going on outside, to me, it's all there. I kind of call it an illusion, but it is real still. And that's where the noise comes from. That's where all the triggers come from and all the negativity comes from. And then what it's done, it's kind of created this stuff inside your ego. So what I think you need to do is close your eyes. And what I share is just focus on your breath. Just breathe nice and deeply and then watch your ego. And then, you can say 1 or 2 words and just see the reaction that your ego has. Or you can be in certain situations and just see how your ego reacts. And that is just not who we really are. We're not a bunch of faults. We're not a bunch of old beliefs or conditioning passed down. We're really this like beautiful spark, this divine light inside, if you call it. And it's just beautiful. And that's where the voice comes. So for me, it's like a daily practice of meditation and yoga. Again, I might have a day off sometimes and, I've kind of slipped up and I haven't practiced yoga for a day or 2. I really feel it. I really feel my relationships change and things change. And I really see how loud the voice gets and like the negative voice in the head. So it's just always just saying to yourself, like, committing to yourself and saying to yourself, I'm going to come back to myself rather than listen to the news and the media or listening to my parents or my friends. I'm actually going to listen to this stuff inside me because that stuff will never let you down. And it doesn't have to be mindfulness and meditation. It can be painting. It can be walking out in nature and being with the trees is something I love. It can be swimming or going to, doing something where there's a bit of time for you. And coming back to the breath, the breath in yoga, we say it's the most powerfulest thing, ever. When you lose the breath, you literally lose your mind, you lose your way. So always just say to yourself, like a Buddhist mantra is, I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out, I'm breathing in, breathing out, and slow down. We've been 100 miles per hour on this interview, but just slow down and just relax and just connect to that aliveness inside. And you don't, to be a meditator, you don't have to sit on a cushion upright and be some like guru in India. Do you know what I mean? I'm not one of those dudes that preach that stuff. You can just meditate. You can meditate when you're in the toilet having a poo. You can meditate in the bath. Meditation to me isn't just about sitting down or structurally and rigid. It's about a way of life. It's like every conversation that you're having, every thought or feeling, you're just aware of it. And you're realizing what I said in my book, that your thoughts and your feelings are like guests in a hotel. They always come and go. They come and they go, but the hotel is you. You're there. And just don't get too attached to the thoughts and the feelings. Just realize that one day you'll be angry, one day you'll be happy, 1 minute you'll be sad, 1 minute you'll be positive. But just don't attach to any of it. Just see it coming and going. And the more you do that, the more you come to the breath, that the more you start to separate, and the grip of the ego and the negativity and the stuff that was drilled into us as children from society and parents, the more that stuff fades away. And then you create your own system. You create this inner system. And to me, that's where the real currency is found. Like you're alive, you're feeling loved, and you're happy just because you're here, you're alive, you're present, you're, like you say, you're divine. It's amazing. So that was a 2-minute answer.
No, thank you so much. And I'll say this as well, that as it says in your book, life lessons help us grow and become who we are. So do not judge or condemn what we've been through. See it as a brilliant thing to be the person that we are now.
100%, mate. Couldn't say it any better. Oh no, I did say it, didn't I? I wrote it.
You did. It's on page. Let's look, page 129.
Boom.
I will say this though, Brett, as well, is that this is such a good book. It is such a good book, and I don't feel I've done it justice, to be honest with you. It really is an easy to read book, but it's got some beautiful stuff in there, and I can see why it's taking you so long to write it.
Thank you, Kevin. I really appreciate that. It's lovely to hear. So yeah.
It's true. It's my truth.
Amazing.
It really is. So I would. It's on the screen now, this book, but I would. It's been on the screen a number of times, but I would highly recommend this book. It really is. It will. There's a little transformation in this book for everyone. There really is. Now, website as well for yourself.
Yeah, so I've got a couple of websites. The first one would be brett-moran.com. So it's BRETT-MORAN.com. And just go. If you go there, you'll be able to get the book. the reason why I was going to say the other one, Wake the FCK Up, is because when you buy my book, you actually get a free online course. Because let's face it, we all buy a book, we read a couple of pages, we stick it on the shelf, and then we just forget about it, myself included. So what I wanted to do was bring the book alive. And I also know how hard it is to meditate, or when you first start, or how hard it is to visualize, or how hard it is to do yoga. When you first begin, you don't really know what's going on, you know. So I created a free online course for anybody that buys the book. They go on, there's a free yoga video, there's free meditations and visualizations. But if they go to my website, mate, brett-moran.com, everybody gets that, just so we can, you know, so you just kind of spread that love, really, just spread that positive impact.
And on there as well is some of the events that you're taking part in as well throughout the year.
Yeah, so there's all different events, yoga festivals. I've got 2 retreats coming up. So I actually show people how to get high without the drugs. So I'm taking people to Ibiza of all places. You know, I used to go to Ibiza and I used to DJ and just get smashed, really. And now I go to Ibiza and just show people that let's just wake up inside. So there's no drinking, no drugs. It's yoga, all raw vegan food. And then just at the end of the week, people just feel this connection. It's amazing. And I've also got a retreat in Thailand, doing exactly the same thing. We do a lot of yoga and waking up inside. So it's, you know, for people thing is, it doesn't matter where you are. Maybe you want to go on a retreat and that's where you're at. Maybe you just want to buy the book and meditate. So just wherever you're at, go for it, you know, or maybe do the 30-day challenge and just see if you can give up drink for 30 days and just see how you feel. And anybody can add me on Facebook. I'm always active and live on Facebook and Instagram to answer questions as well. I love it. It gets my juices flowing when people wake up and get on it.
Thank you. Is there a sort of an important message you'd want to leave the audience with as well before you go?
Put me on the spot, mate, now.
I know, right?
Important message from me to you would be to just really love yourself. I know it sounds like you know, I'm gone all soft, I'm a guy covered in tattoos, or it's a bit of a cliche, but there's nothing more important than love. Love is the most amazing vibration and frequency you can ever do. And for some of us, it's probably one of the hardest things to do. So if you're struggling with that right now, I would say look in the mirror and just start to look in your eyes without any judgments. Just acknowledge yourself, like yourself, and then start to work on loving yourself. Because at the end of the day, everything else is an illusion. Whether it's the porn, the drugs, the drink, the book, everything is anything negative or whatever. It takes us away from that divine. And when you get into that, just really feel it. You know, just really truly work on loving yourself. Buy some other books on self-love. Do some meditations on self-love, or get my book. Or get a coach, you know, find somebody that can teach you to love yourself, because it can be taught, you know, it can honestly be taught. And it's probably, it's free. It's the best thing in the world. It's like, why would you not want to love yourself and feel this love for life? So, yeah. And anyone can do it. You know, if I'm an ex-crack addict that's been there and done it and actually hated myself at one stage, severely, you know, thought about committing suicide and stuff like that, you know, if I can come through this, anybody can. It's just a journey. It's a process now, just to make that decision.
Yeah, and I think you're quite approachable to be listened to, because you've lived it as well, which is always a great thing. You've come through the other end. That's what I meant to add on to that as well, which is fantastic. And would you feel that there's another book wanting to come through you?
Kevin, there's bloody so many books. There's a book. I'm halfway through making a documentary. There's loads. So, and again, it was all about writing that book. I've really lived sort of like self-love and self-confidence. I kind of, you know, I got a little negative voice that crept up and told me I couldn't do it. You know, who's going to want to read it? So I've really had to knuckle down. But now I can see the book in print. It's like, wow, I feel confident. I can't wait to do the next one and then the next one. So yeah, I can see myself writing quite a lot, mate, if I'm honest.
Excellent. Okay, well, Brett Moran, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a complete pleasure.
It's been absolutely amazing. I loved your questions. I hope your audience gets something from it. So have a beautiful day, mate, and I love you loads.
Well, we've come to an end on tonight's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on all past and upcoming guests on the show via themoreshow.co.uk, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.